It's hard to believe, but the Nintendo 64 is now 30 years old. Yes, I am officially old. Wow, it is so hard to believe. On that same note, I want to tell one of my favorite gaming stories about when I was a kid and I received the Nintendo 64 for Christmas. So grab something to eat, grab your favorite beverage, and let's have some fun. Now, the Nintendo 64 launched in 1996. I did not get the Nintendo 64 on the launch year. I believe I got it in 1997, and they were still ridiculously hard to get, even a year later. I'm talking about everywhere you went, the Nintendo 64 was hooked up to those kiosk systems where you'd basically break your neck in Target or Best Buy or Walmart, where you had to stare up the entire time you were playing it. But nevertheless, it was the biggest thing. We were seeing 3D for the first time and experiencing titles like Super Mario 64, Mario Kart, Donkey Kong 64, Star Fox 64, and so many other great titles. It is all I wanted. It's all I thought about. It's all I talked about in elementary school to my friends that already had it. I remember bothering them so much when I actually got it because I was a year behind. But we're getting a little ahead of ourselves. So let's go back to Christmas 1997. This was when I was living in Crofton, Maryland at the time, which is about 20 minutes outside of Baltimore. The way our house was set up, it basically had, you walked into the garage, and over to the right was one of those fake living rooms, where basically no one ever sat in, and there was couches and stuff though, and we used it like twice a year. So basically that room that I'm speaking of was the room we would have Christmas in. That's where the Christmas tree was. There was a fireplace that was see-through. It was a gas one, and you could see into the living room where we actually hung out, where the couch was and the TV, the massive brick TVs, those giant TVs from back in the day. We had like a 50-inch, probably weighed about 500 pounds. Christmas morning came, and all I could think about was getting that Nintendo 64. Up until this point, I was a Sega guy. I grew up with the Sega Genesis. I never had a Super Nintendo, an NES. My dad had a Super Nintendo. But up until this point, I never owned a Nintendo console outside of the original Game Boy Pocket and Game Boy Color. But I don't even know if I might have gotten that after the N64. But anyways, Christmas morning comes of 97. It's the only thing I wanted. And obviously I was going to be visibly upset if I didn't get it. So I'm starting to open up all my presents. One by one, they're disappearing. The pile's getting smaller and smaller. Still, no Nintendo 64. My hopes were slowly starting to spiral down the drain. I was pretty much at the point where I didn't think I was going to get one. So I'm going through all the presents. I open up all of mine. No Nintendo 64. And I'm sitting there like a bump on the log, trying to still be enthusiastic about what I did get and not be a little brat and just cry and complain because I didn't get a Nintendo 64. But my parents could obviously see how I was upset how I didn't get it. So we're kind of sitting around, about 30 minutes had passed, and my mom's like, hey, I think there's one more present over there. Why don't you go see what that is? And I go behind this chair in the living room, and there's this present in a bigger box, but it's got my stepdad's name on it. And I'm like, oh, it's for Brian. Brian was my stepdad at the time. So once again, I'm disappointed, and I hand it over to my stepdad. He starts to open it, and then he gets this like puzzled look on his face, and he kind of stops, and he's like, hey, I don't think this is for me, actually. David, why don't you come help me with this? And I'm ripping off the paper, and I see the Nintendo 64 logo, and I just lose my mind. I could not believe that I actually had a Nintendo 64. And of course, they got me Mario 64. And I was just ecstatic, just running around, losing my shit. I could not believe it. I was just overwhelmed and joyful. I was ecstatic. My mind was blown. So I ran upstairs, hooked it all up, and I'm playing Mario 64, just running around and just having the time of my life. And I remember going to school and being just so proud and so excited to talk to my friends. I finally got the N64, and I'm talking to my buddy Ben Austin, asking how he beat this boss and how he got past the big bomber guy on top of the mountain in the first episode, or how he beat Koopa Troopa in a race, and all this stuff. And he's getting annoyed with me because he's already done this stuff like a year ago. But I just remember so many great memories with the N64. So many groundbreaking games, and it was the generation of couch co-op. That's what I think about when I think about the N64. I think about all the sleepovers that I had at friends' house. Everyone would bring their own N64 controller, or you get held the Snickle Fritz third-party controller that just sucked. But I remember just rubbing my forearm, like my palms, just like completely raw by playing like Mario Party and stuff like that at friends' house. Endless battles in Mario Kart, GoldenEye. Oh my god. I must have put hundreds of hours into GoldenEye, trying to beat it on Agent, 00 Agent, going back and getting all the trophies. And that's the thing, these games were so expensive. I mean, we're sitting here talking about GTA and all this stuff at $80, but man, all the Nintendo 64 games were like $80, $90. They were expensive. Not to mention the wrestling games. There were so many good wrestling games like NWO, Revenge, WrestleMania 2000. I remember creating all of our characters and going through the story modes and just having so much fun with those games. Banjo-Kazooie, just finding all the different puzzle pieces, exploring those islands. For the first time in our lives, 3D felt real. It felt like things could not get bigger and better than this. These open worlds felt so huge. I remember playing Ocarina of Time for the first time and going out to Hyrule Field, and it just feeling massive, like just in scale and scope. I mean, now you play it and it's pretty small, but back then it was just unbelievable, and you just felt like the world was your oyster. I mean, I couldn't believe how incredible these experiences were on the N64. And introducing the Rumble Pack with Star Fox, and just countlessly replaying Star Fox and finding the different routes, beating the easy route, beating the medium route, beating the hard route. It was just a blast and so much fun to look back on. And I have so many childhood memories with the N64, and it's probably one of the more nostalgic systems. Some of the games look a little bit rough to go back to now, but the classics that held up on the N64, I think, are games that will live on for generations and generations. And you really can't replicate it. Like, even like simulating it and playing it on the Switch and stuff like that, like, it doesn't beat playing it on the real hardware with real controllers. You need that original controller, in my opinion, because some of the controls are just wonky. Especially like trying to play like GoldenEye or something like that. How you like kind of like strive or strift, or I don't know what it's called, where you kind of like move side to side like that. Like, you can't play Turok or GoldenEye or anything if you don't have that controller. Turok was such an amazing game too. The Dinosaur Hunter, I thought that game was so badass. Yeah, but I just wanted to come on here and tell that story because it was one of the best Christmases I've ever had. And getting the N64 was a game changer until the PlayStation came out, and I was so disappointed. And then I made another bad decision and got the Sega Dreamcast. But those are great consoles, though. So it's a lot of fun to look back on. And I figured this story would just be a lot of fun to go back and tell you guys about, since it's been 30 years since the Nintendo 64 has been around. And I've been around for every part of it. For better or worse. I'd like to know what you guys think about the Nintendo 64 turning 30 years old? Does it make you feel old like me? Do you have a lot of great memories with it? Is it something you discovered later in life? Tell me about it in the comments down below. I'd love to hear about it. And until next time, that's about all I got for you guys. Stay blessed, my friends.